This is a little silly little thing I'm doing. Of I think a lot about a pretty wide amount of stuff, and I want to share it. And I got free time when I walk home from the gym, so uh, do that while I walk home. Talk about what I've been thinking about while I walk home. Not gonna do that with any consistency, but hey. Uh, so the idea I think come to basically a conclusion on is the title that don't try so hard to change yourself, just accept yourself. And just kind of two concepts kind of combined together. The first one being about people will inherently like you, and then the second is to change, you have to accept yourself. And I'll start on that first idea that people will inherently like you. And it's that when you meet a person, I mean, you can just think about how you feel when you meet somebody. Do you analyze what they do? Do you really ridicule or pick them apart? No. You just inherently feel a certain way about them. And the same thing happens with people to you, that they aren't thinking about like, man, that one joke, he just didn't deliver it properly and I fucking hate his guts for it. Or his voice cracked and that's just fucking unforgivable. Fuck him. Nobody does that. And maybe a basic concept, but I think it's at least the concept isn't the deep part. The way you apply it, I think, is the somewhat interesting part. And it's that you don't have to try so hard in relationships. And you don't have to think so much about these relationships you're in. Because I was thinking about the person at my work. I want to fit in with the people at my work. And I don't feel like I do. I feel like I'm just an observer to this big friendship that all happens at this one restaurant. And I'm just there. And I this kind of came to a head recently where one of my coworkers, I posted about an accomplishment of mine of squatting 315 pounds. And I was worried that if my certain coworker saw it, that she would be maybe not upset, but disappointed. He wouldn't like it, is the point. And, my view on his view on me would go down and it'd make it harder for me to be friends with these people and all this and this and this. And then I came to that concept. I realized that people will inherently like you. And that also means that they will inherently dislike you. People will inherently have feelings towards you, positive and negative. They will. And there's not exactly anything you can do about that. And I mean specifically, do about that. There's not, in the same way that nobody analyzes the embarrassing things you do, nobody analyzes the good things you do. No one's like, oh man, the fucking the little smirk he did after he said that joke, hilarious. That guy's awesome. I love him. Or people don't think about that stuff. They just feel it. And so in that way, you can't plan out how to win people over. You just have to be yourself. And And so I can't do anything purposeful to change this person's view on me or any of my coworkers' views on me. All I can do is be myself and hope they change their mind. I can think of a specific time that this happened to me towards somebody else, that there was this one guy I knew, and I fucking hated him. Okay, hate's a little strong, but I really disliked him. And it was because of the way he talked. He had just this weird intonation. He talks like a cartoon character. It's weird. And he just interrupted my history class a lot to go on his own little rants. And I didn't like him. But chance had that we bump into each other from time to time, see each other. And eventually I grew to admire him because there was something kind of cool that he was, he had that accent, he was unabashed in his interests, and, and he ate box. So, like, come on, that's sick. The fact that anyways, it's a different story, but I grew to admire this person because they were just themselves. They didn't try to win over my affection for them. They just were themselves, and I eventually grew to like the guy. And it's the same thing. And even today, with this mindset, I went to work that I just have to be myself, and I immediately felt more connected to my coworkers. I felt like they liked me more. And that's in two parts of, not only was I out of my head about the situation, but then I was also being myself more. And both of those work together to make a more natural, enjoyable experience for both my coworkers and I. And so this is all to say that people will inherently feel certain ways about you. And there is absolutely nothing that you can actively do to change that. You can only be yourself. And which way they go after that only says something about them and not about you. So this kind of leads into the next topic of accepting yourself as the first step to changing. And to kind of roughly apply it, if there was seriously, I don't think you ever really need to change your personality, who you are as a person. If you don't mesh with people, it just means you've not met the right people. It's not, in relationships, it's rarely you. Or at least in the more surface level getting along of relationships, it's rarely about you. It's more like you just haven't met the right people. So I'd never say that you need to change your personality, but let's say that you really did have something serious that you needed to change. And the only way you'd be able to change that about yourself is to accept that that part of yourself exists and to embrace it. And there's a better point I was going to make, but I've kind of lost it. I'm rambling. Well, anyways, to change yourself, to make important change, you have to accept yourself. Because if you don't, you'll probably end up in just a cycle of hatred and pity. And none of those emotions ever led to anything good. I know whenever I'm talking from personal experience most of the time. This isn't stuff I've researched. This is stuff I've experienced. Um, and I think that's shown, or it's that to change yourself, you have to accept yourself. And if you don't accept yourself, that probably means that you hate yourself, are really displeased with yourself. And that's not going to get you anywhere. Nobody has done anything worthwhile from hate, or hate is nothing but a destructive and hurtful emotion, and nobody has improved themselves or has made the world a better place because they were hateful, especially towards themselves. And you might say that you can change that, like, I mean, you've probably seen those TikToks or whatever of someone like, best way to lose weight. And the first thing is like, drink protein, take creatine. And then the next 10 slides is hate yourself, hate yourself, hate yourself. And you might say that, well, that's something constructive stemming from hate. The truth is, it isn't. If you truly hated, I mean, full definition of the word hate yourself, you wouldn't want it to improve. I mean, when was the last time you hated something and wished it the best? What was like, have you ever hated a person and went, I really hate them, but I just hope they get a promotion at their job. I hope things go well for them. I hope their life goes in a better direction, but fuck them. No, you've never done that. So, if you hate yourself and that somehow drives you to improve yourself, it's an oxymoron. It's a counter concepts. And the point that I'm drawing at here is that somewhere deep down within you from that hate, you love yourself. You actually do like you. And you want to improve yourself. Because again, hate is just destructive. And I guess in a way you could think of accepting yourself. Never mind. You can think of accepting yourself as searching deep down for that love within you, and searching for that love that exists within you and embracing it. And truthfully, you just think logically here, you can't change something you don't understand. But you can think of accepting yourself as digging deep to find that love within yourself and embracing it and letting it overpower the hate, and that allowing that love to push you into the right direction. Because like I said, hate is destructive and is what's going to stop you from improving yourself. I think I can apply my own experiences here. I've been struggling a lot lately in terms of the drive to do things that I need to do. The drive to do things that I need to do, sign up for my school classes, clean up my room, go to work, go to the gym. Those are all things that I struggle with, and particularly one day, and you're gonna judge me for this, but that's okay. I understand. But there was one day, I guess I apparently had forgotten a bag of Mexican food in my room. And through the clutter of my day-to-day, that bag just got pushed under my bed and I forgot about it. And that eventually led to bugs showing up. And they were buzzing around me one day. And this was day, I think it was a rest day or something. So I was spending most of my day in my room with these bugs. And they were pissing me off. They made me so fucking annoyed. And they filled me with hate. Because it reminded me every time a fly, flew past me or landed on me or was just annoying me in some way, it reminded me of like what a failure I am or how inadequate I am, that my room is so messy and so disgusting that there are bugs now. And that feeling, that hatred was so deep rooted in me that it paralyzed me, that it was such a scary thought to think that I've really let myself go enough that there are bugs. Because that's sort of like, that's like the number one sign you have a problem is if there's bugs. When have bugs ever been a good sign? It's a beautiful cabinet just on the side of the road here. Who would throw this out? Look at this. Beautiful. Anyways. And that hatred, it paralyzed me because it was a scary thought to think that I'm that lazy or I'm that inadequate, whatever. And the general theory I have that our brains do what is best for our survival, most optimal for our survival, and that is usually what makes us feel best. And of course, that sort of reaction really is the opposite of helpful in a modern life, but I'm pretty sure that's how we operate. And so my brain, looking out for what's best for my survival, doesn't want to face these hard thoughts. I would much rather ignore them and just, run away from the idea altogether. We don't have to. Don't think about the flies, boot up Fortnite, it's, ignore the problem so that we don't have to think about this hard concept that maybe I'm not that great of a person. Or, well, not that makes me a bad person, but more that I'm not a neat person. Yeah, you get the point I'm going for. And so that hatred, it kept me from actually doing anything about my problem. And it wasn't until I went to the gym, I hit the treadmills, put on some Adrian Lenker songs, or is it, no, I think the album's called Songs. Amazing album. Oh, no. Instrumentals. Songs is the actual album. I think Instrumentals is like the EP or whatever. Instrumentals. That's a beautiful album. Have a listen. It's just ambience, basically. It's beautiful. Wind chime. Anyways, different thing. I love Adrian Lenker. So I put on Adrian Lenker, Instrumentals, set the treadmill to 15, incline, and I just started walking, shut my eyes, and immersed myself in thought. And I was surrounded by so much anxiety and self-hatred for, these flies in my room. I haven't signed up for my classes. I still am yet to talk to, like my gym crush. And it all just made me feel bad about myself. And it wasn't until I realized that, it's okay. I'm 18. I have a literal full life ahead of me. And nobody's perfect all the time. And hate is destructive. So all I'm doing by hating myself is breaking myself down, hurting myself for no reason. It gets me nowhere. And so I accepted that, my room is messy, but hey, that's okay. It happens sometimes. And doesn't make me a terrible person. It doesn't mean I'll never have a successful life. I'll never be anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's just my messy room, my lack of talking to my gym crush, my not having signed up for my classes yet. It doesn't define who I am as a person. And I shouldn't let it. I shouldn't let it weigh so heavy on me. It's okay to not be perfect all the time. And so through this thinking, through this understanding, I accepted myself. I accepted that, I'm a little lazy. That's okay. That's how it is. I can't become perfect overnight. And with that acceptance, I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I cleaned my room. And I found where the flies were coming from, because I didn't know it was a bag of Cotihan. And they didn't become a problem. And while I still haven't talked to my gym crush, I feel less stress about it. Which means odds are I probably will. Because I'm not, in my head about this idea of interacting with her. I'm just going to be natural about it. Accept it. But point is, I got the bugs out, all right? So let's focus on the good things here. And so if I didn't accept this part of myself, if I didn't accept the kind of ugly fact that, like, my laziness, my slobbery, whatever, has led me to having bugs in my room, if I didn't accept that, embrace it in a sense, I would have never done anything about it. I would have just continued wallowing in misery over the fact and never actually change anything about it. And so, point is, actually make worthwhile change in the things that are weighing you down in life, making you so anxious. Is that you got to accept them and embrace them. Yeah. You got to accept what you have not done or what you have done and realize that it doesn't define you. You are more than your parts. And yeah. That's about all I have to say. So in conclusion, you don't need, I guess if you wonder what I mean by you don't need to work so hard to change yourself. You don't need to don't work so hard to change yourself, just accept yourself. I think I've explained it. You don't need to change yourself for other people. And you don't need to work so hard to change yourself, because when you accept yourself, when you embrace yourself full of love, that hatred in your body is going to be pushed out by love. And And for that hatred to be pushed out, the problem is going to be pushed out. So just naturally, if you love yourself, that hate and that thing that is causing that hate is just going to naturally go away. You just have to work to embrace yourself, to love yourself. And you have to nourish that love, embrace, accept it, all that. So yeah, don't work so hard to change yourself. Just accept yourself. And that's all you need to do. And then you got life figured out. It's all easy from there, easy straight.